executive producer and the actor in the film.
August 31st, 2023, New York City. 1 p.m., 75 degrees, and not a cloud in the sky. I'm having lunch at the famous Cipriani in downtown. Ciabatta bread, beef carpaccio, steak tartare, along with an Aperol spritz. The perfect setting. I'm sitting with one of the most successful people in the mortgage industry, hands down. I had to take this opportunity to ask the question. Bet you can't wait for interest rates to come down. Without pause, without flinch or hesitation, he responds, ideally, it remains this way a little longer. No, I don't care. I'm thinking to myself, what the Federal Reserve. They're recording. But I respond, seriously? You can't wait for rates to come down? He says, you see, if interest rates drop tomorrow, too many will survive. Too many will survive. Later that night in my hotel room, and about 4 martinis later, I thought long and hard about that incredibly bold statement. I also thought long and hard about his incredible success. Too many will survive. And then it hit me. Wait a minute here. I've seen this movie before. I lived through 3 or 4 of these movies in the past. Every single one of these movies has a villain and a hero. The villain is usually this powerful force, greater than a single army, aimed to destroy everything in its path. And the hero has the power to actually beat this monstrous villain. This is possible because the hero is actually the director, executive producer, and the actor in the film, and has the power to deliver an incredible ending if they so choose. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in another movie now. The villain, the economic force causing mass destruction across the industry. And us, well, we are the director, executive producer, and the actor. Let's make our movie together. In order to make our movie, we must first dive into our roles. Our first role is the director. Job description, setting the vision, selecting the cast, directing the actors, including ourselves, and thinking of the end product. Simply put, the director is our mind. But in order for us to make our movie together, we must look at the old film. 2007, the Great Recession. Incredibly difficult times. I vividly remember some of the biggest names going out of business. AIG was on the brink of collapse. And I'll never forget one Sunday watching CNBC and remembering and seeing Lehman Brothers employees exiting their New York City headquarters one by one, holding their personal belongings. As I think back at that time, my mindset wasn't strong. My vision was cloudy, and the cast of characters that I was around, other loan officers, were constantly complaining. The world is over. Our industry is over. Loan officers are finished. It'll never come back. I fed into it. I believed it. And I gave up. So much so that in 2009, I was heading to my second job interview at Northwestern Mutual. Yes, the insurance company. As I'm driving down Congress Avenue, I'm passing a 3-story building that is known to house a fairly large mortgage company. Subconsciously, I think to myself, geez, they must be going out of business as well. They can't be doing anything. As I'm at the light of Congress Avenue and Clintmore Road, I turn my head towards the building. and I see a brand new silver Porsche 911 being delivered directly in front. I thought to myself, who could possibly be getting a Porsche at that mortgage company? Instead of continuing to my interview, I made a U-turn into the parking lot. I walked into the lobby and it said headquarters, 3rd floor. When I got to the 3rd floor, there was a receptionist. I said, I'd like to speak to the owner of the company. She said, do you mean Eric Wahlberg? I said, yes. He says, you have to make an appointment to speak to a man like him. I said, but you don't understand. I could be one of his top loan officers. She said, that's great, but you still have to make an appointment. As I made my way back to the elevators, Eric came up to me. He said, would you like to talk? I said, I'd love to. We talked, and he hired me on the spot. You see, Eric's director, his mind, was writing an differently script during that time, a totally different script. While others were complaining and quitting, Eric found opportunity. To this day, I'm forever grateful to Eric for saving me in this industry. After a year, I became one of his top producers. One day, another loan officer, Mike Murgatroyd, said, Matt, are you taking company leads? I said, yes. He said to me, you gotta get off the dope and generate your own business. I took Mike's words seriously, and it was in 2010 that I made a decision to build my entire practice specializing in serving the real estate agent. I met with my family at the time, my wife and parents, and I asked permission if I can go all in on my business. You see, our family is also a part of our cast, and we need their support. As the director, I started building a process. I started having more of a clear vision as to what I wanted to accomplish. As I'm building my team, I'll never forget one of my first hires, Andy Busa. He sat across the conference room table and he asked the question, why would I join your team? I said, because this go around, I'm gonna leave no juice in the lemon. It's gonna be the rattiest lemon you have ever seen. Because you see, I didn't go all in prior to 2008. Over the years, I kept building my process and my cast, my team members. My vision was clear because I knew who my customer was, which was the real estate agent. My hard work met its opportunity in 2020 and in 2021, where multiple offers were everywhere. We've spent years on developing a process for our agents to compete and win, and my business went to another level. During this time, my team and I would seize every opportunity. Matt, we had 50 applications today. My response, how do we get to 70? I wanted to squeeze every ounce of juice from that lemon. January 2022 came. As the director, I had to set a new vision. We knew we were in for a rough year, so I decided to take on a mantra that winning was the only option. This first served as an affirmation to myself, and then was shared with my cast, consisting of my team and all of our family members at home and our real estate agents. Today, this affirmation continues to serve as the greatest ally in our film, helping us take out the villain. Our mindset has to be stronger than ever. Terrible news in the headlines, slow application day. How do we overcome this? By staying focused on our activities and reminding ourselves that we're doing the right thing. As directors, we must keep ourselves and our cast focused on the activities. Remember one of my first hires, Andy Busa? Recently, he had a stroke, and I followed up with him while he was in ICU. Here was his text message response. Not squeezing the last lemon. As directors, we must have a vision that our cast wants to follow and embody. Today and going forward, we must realize that we can't control the market, but we can control our market share. Let me repeat that. We can't control the market, but we can control our market share. How? by gaining more relationships through our service and our winning attitudes. Agents are going through the same challenges, and we must be the calming force. We must stay disciplined with our activities, knowing its opportunity will be just around the corner. As the directors, we must remind our cast what our incredible ending will look like. Our second role, the executive producer. Job description: financier of our movie, setting the budget, making sure resources are properly allocated, confident of being a blockbuster hit, and never selling our movie rights short. But in order to make our movie together, we must look at old film. 1999, the dot-com crash. I was the guy that sold my entire stock portfolio during that crash. Several years later, those stock prices came back, but there was one problem for me. I didn't own them anymore. These were very scary times. You see, people lost their life savings, and many were paralyzed due to the drop in their 401ks. In 2009, during the Great Recession, you would have thought I learned my lesson from 1999, but I didn't. I had Bank of America stock, and I sold it for $3 a share. My timing was perfect, because I sold it at the absolute bottom. But it got me thinking. Companies have stock, and individually, we are like stock as well. Our human stock goes up and down in value, depending on economic activity, similar to company stock. We can't sell ourselves short at the bottom. Today, is my human stock lower? Yes. Is my compensation lower? Yes. Does it suck? Yes. But it's allowing me to serve more people and grow my market share. This is no different than cost averaging and buying more stock while prices are down. Market conditions will get better and my human stock will soar. No differently than Bank of America did when it was at $3 a share. But this time I'm going to own it. As the executive producer, I have to stay on budget to weather the conditions. I mean, every year I would take my family to Europe. You know where we went this summer? Utah. Not to knock Utah. It is beautiful. Okay? Zion National Park, it is gorgeous, no question about it. The best part is that it's one of those that you drive up and they count how many heads for the charge, $30 for a 4-day pass. So I threw my 12-year-old son in the trunk, only paid for 3. But as the executive producer, I also have to make sure that I'm with a company that has the financial backing to weather the storm as well. And I am confident CCM does. Today and going forward, I will no longer sell anything short, especially myself. All the old films tell us that everything comes back, and I know that both my value and my income will be back as well. We must be careful and avoid the shiny objects, the magic pills. I see many loan officers contracting during this time rather than expanding. Their mindset is, how can I make a little bit more per transaction rather than how can I grow my transactions and my market share? Don't sell your movie rights short. So many great movies haven't made it to the big screen. And you know what? So many loan officers haven't either. We must be confident that our movie will be a blockbuster hit. Remember, I was 1 foot out of the business in 2009. Don't sell your movie rights short. Our third role, the actor. Job description. Embodies the character, follows the script, and performs. But in order to make our movie together, we must look at old film. 2011, the most important meeting of my career at that time. A broker owner of a major real estate company was entertaining mortgage relationships, and I was one of them. Our meeting was set at our corporate headquarters. The conference room was fully prepared with Fiji water on the table and stacked with peppermints. A few minutes before the meeting, I was already sweating. I was nervous. The broker walks in with his executive assistant. He sits down and skips directly over the pleasantries. Matt, why would I choose you to be our preferred lender? I froze, turning beet red and sweating even more. I couldn't even open my mouth. I went into analytical shock because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know my lines because I didn't have a script. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life. I somehow got through that meeting, which only lasted about 3 minutes. Later that night, while sitting in my bed, I promised myself that I would never be in that situation again. The director side of me immediately started getting to work, scripting my process, my value propositions, and my lines. I became obsessed with knowing what to say for each and every scenario. If an agent would ask me, why would I do business with you? I had 3 different scripts depending on how much time I had allotted. Whether it be my pre-approval process, offer process, how we handle condominiums, or any other scenario, we have a script. I've learned over the years that professionals follow a script, amateurs don't. Today, I use my fear of public speaking to my advantage. Whether one-on-one, team meetings, luncheons, conferences, or keynoting. I often get asked, Matt, what do you do every day? As the actor, I'm responsible for playing my role to the highest level. I'm an early to bed, early to rise person. I always have been. Every morning at 5 a.m., I meet with my director, my own mind. With a cup of coffee and a notepad, I'm going over the details of my business and how I can add more value to the customer I serve, which is the real estate agent. As markets change, I'm constantly looking for the next opportunity within those changes to deliver back to my agents. As an example, in 2010, when we converted to a full documentation lending environment, I wanted to build out the most trusted pre-approval process in my local market. In 2011, we entered a multiple offer environment. I built out a scripted offer process for agents to compete and win. It became very valuable in 2020 and 2021. Today, I'm scripting my agents on how to overcome interest rate objections. They are on the front line. And other incredibly important topics. A good actor also, of course, has to look the part, so I try to stay fit, and I'm in the gym at 6 a.m. By 8 a.m., I'm in the office doing all of my status calls. Yes, I call all parties on each transaction every day. This is no different than an NBA player practicing the basic chess pass. We cannot veer away from the fundamentals. I try to arrange coffee appointments along with lunch meetings. I utilize Zoom to get in front of agents virtually. I also host many seminars entertaining agents for hours because I'm always working on the content that they want and need to hear. My brand is everything. I ask myself daily, would I hire myself? I also ask myself, do I provide more value than my competition? I recently said to a group of real estate agents that if you know a loan officer that has more value propositions than myself, I would tell you to use them, and I would fire myself. Social media is an ingredient, but it's also a killer. We must utilize it appropriately. We must look at each post as a benefit. Does being flashy make sense? Partying on a Wednesday night or something political? I don't think so. As the actor, we must be also very mindful as to who we hang out with. We must delete the negative voices. How can we take the stage and perform while hanging around others that are constantly complaining and thinking small? Today and going forward, it is so important for us to find ways on how to become better. I recently started consulting a select group of loan officers, and I got asked a great question from one that was interviewing me. Matt, why are you doing this? It can't be for the money. I said, you're right. I'm consulting so I can become better. I knew that if I shared everything, all of my content, presentations, scripts, it will force me to be better tomorrow. The highest rating I ever give myself is an 8, because there's always room to improve. Perhaps at the end of my journey, the 10 will appear. As the actor, we can also have a lot of fun depicting ourselves in old movies. Mortal enemies are healthy to have. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I put myself as Rocky Balboa and my closest competitor is Drago. I want to thank Craig Stelzer for our competition. He made me better. As the actor, we must embody the character, follow our scripts, and perform at the highest level. As I reflect back on my lunch meeting in New York City, it all makes sense now. Too many will survive. The comment that too many will survive simply means that if interest rates drop tomorrow, too many of our competitors will remain in this business. So I ask myself now, Matt, would you really want rates to drop today? And my answer is no. Why? Why? Because too many will survive. You see, the old films show us that everything comes back. And if we can hold on just a little longer, if we can continue to reinvest in ourselves by working on our mindset as the director, by not selling ourselves short as the executive producer, and working our own activities as the actor, then maybe 6, 12, or maybe even 18 months, we will grow even further. I want to thank Ron Leonhardt, our leader and CEO, for his wise words at Cipriani in New York City. It was the most expensive lunch tab I ever paid for. But I guess you get what you pay for.